Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning to people on the West Coast. Good afternoon to people in the Midwest and on the East. My hat is okay. There we go. Better? Yeah, better. Okay. Hey, good afternoon. Good morning. Welcome to Tech News that Jerome Ortega finds interesting, also known as TNT Jofi. This is episode 52. Hopefully, everyone's doing well today. Hope everyone's staying safe out there. It's a tough time to just with everything going on. Hopefully you guys are doing well, staying healthy and staying safe. That's important. Just that's all I have to say. So tech for your needs. Hey, hello there. Hey, hi, welcome to the stream. Brian. Oh, did I not oh, I didn't mute myself, did I? So you heard me the whole time during the music, didn't you? What up, Jerome? What up, Brian? How's it going, man? How you doing? Yeah, I was probably clicking away and stuff, wasn't I? I totally forgot to mute myself. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, good afternoon. I actually have a couple things I wanted to talk about. Probably so less stories today and more kind of a conversation type deal. I feel like I don't know. I feel like that might be a better platform if I don't have a ton of news, and I don't mind doing that either. I always love talking tech. Always love talking about new devices and maybe seeing what's coming down the pipeline, what we have already, and if it's still worth a shot buying. So let's kind of start here. Sorry, my mind's a little foggy right now, and I have a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, sorry about that. Oh shit. Almost fell there too. Sorry, my cable was stuck under my chair. Okay, so let's see here. Let's actually I see a chat here from Irfanul Islam Nahal. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the chat, or good morning, or how's it going? How you doing today? Nice to see you. Thanks for making the stream. It does seem like a great device, and that's actually why I want to talk about that. So let's share that right now. So I have this article here. I should have pulled up another one too, just to get a little more information, and maybe that's something we can do. But I have this article here from Mashable that says TCL enters smartphone territory with its very own lineup of devices. So this is something that we have been hearing for, I think, the past couple weeks, maybe longer than that TCL was ready to, I think there was an article on The Verge about that TCL was about to unveil some new phones. And if you guys don't know, TCL, they I think they make a good amount of TVs, and I think they've also made smartphone devices, just not under their name, or at least they've had a hand in creating devices for other manufacturers. But now they want to stand out. They want to kind of have their own thing. And let's see if any of these actually hold some water, right? Or if it would be worth your money, worth your dollar. So let's see here. TCL has finally taken the wraps off its first series of company branded smartphones: TCL 10 5G, TCL 10L, and TCL 10 Pro. So three different versions, which is what a lot of manufacturers are doing these days, kind of making a very high-end version, a mid-range version, and then a budget version. But I think the difference here is that the prices here are substantially lower than what you would typically find in other smartphone manufacturers. So while all three phones offer some powerful features, they're all priced under $500. So that's a big selling point for them. Is the price being so low? Because when you think of three phones that are in the same series, in the same lineup, you'd always imagine that you're going to have one that's at a super high end price, and to know that the top version is under $500, that doesn't sound bad at all. So under $500 is my price point for me, tops. And actually, I'm kind of curious to see if this top end version would be worth my $500. So if the lineup sounds familiar, it's because the company originally gave tech journalists a sneak peek of the phones at CES in January. TCL planned to fully launch the phones at Mobile World Congress in late February, which was canceled due to coronavirus. So while the launch was delayed a bit, the specs are finally here. So at $449, the TCL 10 Pro is the most expensive of the bunch, and comes in Ember Gray or Mist Green, both of which have a matte finish. Actually, this green looks pretty nice. It does look pretty good. So let's see here. On the front, it's a 6.47-inch FHD plus curved AMOLED panel to allow for minimal bezels. There's also an in-display fingerprint sensor and a 24-megapixel front-facing camera. I think TCL was pretty clear that their cameras weren't going to be anything like noteworthy. I don't know what that says about a company that, is very clear that their cameras aren't going to be the best, but at least they're being honest about it. I'm looking at this in-display fingerprint sensor, and I'm wondering how good that is, especially because we're talking about three phones coming in at under $500. It also makes me wonder, are all three of them going to have the same in-display fingerprint sensor? I'm assuming so. That probably saves on costs, but again, I wonder how well those fingerprint sensors work. So on the inside, there's a Snapdragon 675 chipset and a 4,500 milliamp hour battery. So a pretty hefty battery there. The Snapdragon 675 chipset is obviously not a high-end chipset. The high-end chipsets are in the 800 series, but I don't know how a 675 fares. I will say too, as far as this in-display fingerprint sensor, I wonder if it isn't good, if it ends up not being a great in fingerprint sensor, kind of like the S10 or even the S20. If it's not that good, I wonder if they were just better off putting a rear fingerprint sensor on it, right? Because a lot of it, I feel like the rear fingerprint sensor has been almost perfected. Pixel 3 is a great example of how quick, how secure it is. Other things that you can do with that fingerprint sensor, like use your finger to swipe up and down for notifications. I will always say that, and I think I say it almost on every time I get the chance. Is that's such a great feature that the Pixel 4 skipped out on, right? Because the Pixel 4 added facial recognition or face recognition or whatever, and I just don't think it works as well as what the rear fingerprint sensor had on the Pixel 3. So it says here on the back, the 10 Pro features a quad camera setup with a 64 megapixel sensor, a 16 megapixel 123-degree super wide angle lens, a macro lens, and a 2.9, I forget what that little verbiage is called there, low light sensor. At $399, there's a TCL 10 5G, which obviously comes equipped with a 5G chip, a Snapdragon 765 to be exact. Okay, so hold on here. So the TCL 10 Pro, that's $449, gets a Snapdragon 675. Um, and then the 399 TCL 10 5G has a Snapdragon 765. I should really take a look at those specs and see how those two compare against each other, because I would have assumed the Snapdragon 765 is better than the Snapdragon 675, or is this a typo? I don't know. I'll end up finding I should actually look for another article about the TCL 10, just so I can have two different ones to look at, just to make sure that we're getting the facts correct here. So give me 1 second here. TCL 10 Pro. I guess actually I could just pull up the website too, which I will do as well, because it'll be good to see. And I'll just put this right here. So yeah, actually we might as well take a look at what this shows now. So the TCL 10 Pro. So an FHD plus curved AMOLED display. I don't know if that audio, I think the audio is playing. I don't even know if I can. That's okay. We'll go through this later. So a dedicated display engine with NXT Vision technology brings every nuance to life for an elevated viewing and creation experience. That's a lot of marketing jargon right there. Brilliant color, clarity, and contrast, elevated viewing experience. So again, a 6.47-inch FHD plus. So it also has HDR10 video, adaptive tone and reading mode, auto adjusts your display to suit any environment for easier viewing. Eye comfort mode reduces harmful blue light by 72.55%. So enjoy video at its richest with HDR enhancement. Create stunning photos with a NXT Vision 64 megapixel quad camera setup, and an AI algorithm that automatically adjusts exposure and color for effortlessly perfect shots. So brighter night video, super slow-mo. It gives you 960 frames per second. Although I wonder how well that works. I know sometimes with like really slow-mo video on cameras, you have to be pretty perfect with it, or it can only be a certain sequence. And then breathtaking images with an ultra high resolution 64 megapixel camera. Okay. So let me see if I can find, okay, powerful performance. So it says here Qualcomm Snapdragon, but it doesn't say exactly what kind of, so this one says 675. Okay, let me see here. Learn more. Okay, so this is just listing the TCL 10 Pro and the TCL 10. I'm just trying to see what's different here. So the 10 Pro only comes in that green color. That green color is pretty, I would buy that green color if I had to pick one. So yeah, the TCL 10 Pro is a Snapdragon 675. The TCL 10L is a Snapdragon 665. They're both octa-cores. This one just has a little more processing power. No, they look pretty much the same. The only thing that shows the difference here is the GPU, an updated GPU, I guess. So performance-wise, they might be very similar. 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage. It does support expandable micro SD storage. And then the Pro has a bigger battery compared to a 4,500 milliamp hour battery versus 4,000. Audio looks pretty similar. This doesn't say dual microphones on it or audio zoom and 3M adapter, but I don't know, maybe it's just missing stuff. Anyway, let's kind of continue on with this. So it's important to remember that while 5G is available in certain cities, it'll be a few years before it's widely accessible. So it's better to get this phone if you don't plan on upgrading for a while. As for additional specs, the TCL 10 5G comes with 6.53-inch display and a 16 megapixel selfie camera. So the front cameras are also different. On the back is a quad camera setup with a 64 megapixel sensor, an 8 megapixel 118 degree ultra wide angle lens, a macro lens, and a depth sensor for bokeh. I'm sorry, guys. I should have actually made this a little bigger so you guys can read with me. Okay, so let's see here. Meanwhile, the TCL 10L is the least expensive at $249, so that's super cheap. $250 for a new phone. That's a pretty good deal. It has a 6.53-inch FHD plus display and a 16 megapixel selfie camera. There's also a physical fingerprint sensor under the camera module. Okay, so the high-end version has the in-display fingerprint reader. This one has a fingerprint sensor under the camera module, so right here. I wonder if this one is going to be better than the in-display one that it has, but I guess we won't know until people start reviewing them. As with the other two models, the 10L also has a 4 rear camera setup, complete with a 48 megapixel sensor, 8 megapixel super wide angle sensor, along with a depth sensor and macro lens. Under the hood is Qualcomm Snapdragon 665 processor and a 4,000 milliamp hour battery powering the device. In terms of availability, TCL has yet to release official dates, but the entire 10 series is expected to be available in the US later this year. The Chinese multinational is mainly known for its wide array of TVs. This is its first foray into using its display technology for smartphones. So, I mean, obviously, these are great prices. They're great price points, but we also have to remember that, so $249 is their cheapest, and then $449 is their high-end one, which is great for prices for a new smartphone for 2020. But I think it's also noteworthy that we take a look at these specs and kind of compare them to what you can get today, even flagship-wise, when sales come out, when there are discounts on phones, because, yeah, this might be a great starting price. I mean, it is a great starting price. I love this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for phone manufacturers to come out and give me their high-end version for under $500, and I see that with the TCL 10 Pro. I am a little wary about, again, the fingerprint sensor. I have no idea about the cameras, but again, at $449, I'm probably not expecting the world out of it. At the same time, at $449, you have the option of getting like a Pixel 3a or the upcoming Pixel 4a. And if the iPhone SE comes out with the camera of the iPhone 11, or the iPhone 11 Pro, iPhone 11 Pro Max, all the same main camera sensor, then I don't even know if that's so. So then you have to decide whether a camera is your priority here, or having a really nice display, right? Because the iPhone SE isn't going to have, the iPhone SE is going to have bezels on the top and the bottom. It's not going to be your typical modern day looking smartphone. So I think you have to kind of, weigh your options out there. I'll get a little more into this. I don't know exactly how much more there is to learn about it, but we'll pull up another article or two just to go through. But I kind of want to go through the chat. So let's see here. John, hey, John, welcome to the chat, man. Or welcome to the stream. Appreciate you stopping by. I feel like the 5G radio is just giving companies an excuse to make the prices higher. Yes, exactly, John. And this is something that I've been talking about for a while. I've been saying this, that 5G is still not a thing right now. It's not a thing for 2020. Yes, it is a thing. It is something that's out there. The technology is out there, but it's slow. It's slow rolling. It's slow, literally. I mean, I'm sure there's some use cases where, yeah, 5G has been beneficial, but it's probably not the majority, right? There's probably a big percentage out there that has 5G phones now, and it's not doing anything for them. Or if it is, it's marginal at best. For the most part, I still believe that most people are fine with 4G LTE. I'm not saying that that's what you should stick for forever. I'm just saying that 5G will get better and it will roll out, but 2020 is not the year for 5G. 5G 2020 might be the year that 5G has been more widely released, more widely marketed as the keyword, the hot term for 2020. But 5G is nowhere near as good as 4G LTE is right now. I mean, there's nowhere unless you're doing the whole, you're on Verizon and you're doing the whole millimeter wave thing, and you're standing right in front of that cell tower that's going to give you these supposedly gigabit speeds or whatever it is. Most people aren't doing that. Most people aren't standing in front of a cell tower. That's not a thing. Yes, is it impressive on paper? Sure. Is it impressive when you stand in front of a cell tower and show me your speed test? Sure, but I'm not going to get that in this room. Give me a 5G phone and I'm going to run that. And I'm pretty positive that I am not going to get the speeds that they're touting by any means. So I agree with you there. So let's see here. Oh, Tana, yo, Tana, what's up, man? Glad you made it to the stream. How's it going? If you're still here, I'm good, man. How are you? It's a nice day in Chicago today, man. Nice to see another Chicago brethren come in here. So Tana, I appreciate you joining the stream. Nice to have you. Brian also says these TCL phones look solid, but they have to beat the other mid-rangers to gain traction. And yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Again, this is TCL's first foray into the market, naming their own phones, which is great to see. I just don't know how well these phones are going to compete versus other mid-range phones at this point. At $249, though, a $249 price point for what it gives, I would have to see what other phones are priced at $250. But I like these prices. I think these are the prices that phones should be. $250 for a smartphone, brand new. That's a great deal. $450 for a top end one or their version of a top end one. Yeah, this is what I want to see. Show me the best that you can make out of under $500. I'm interested to see how well those can come out. So I do have this article here too from GSM Arena. So this GSM Arena, and it's pretty much going to be the same thing. Again, we're just going to kind of go through these specs and see what, if there's anything new here. Hold on one second, guys. So originally unveiled back in January, again, like we've read, TCL finally announced the full specifications of its 10 series phones. TCL 10L, so that's their bottom line, 10 Pro, and 10 5G. Well, they're so weirdly named. So is TCL 10L their low end? Okay, we know TCL 10 Pro is their high end. TCL 10 Pro, only one with an AMOLED screen. Okay, that's good to know. So the only one with an AMOLED screen, a 6.47-inch panel with 1080p plus resolution, supports HDR10, Netflix certified display. For regular content, there's an NXT Vision chip that does real-time SDR to HDR tone mapping. The display has curved sides and a teardrop notch for the 24 megapixel selfie camera. Here's that teardrop notch right here. There's also an in-display fingerprint reader. Again, my question here is, how well is that in-display fingerprint reader? Is it going to be something like what we've seen on the Galaxy S10 or the Galaxy S20, where the sensor is kind of hard to pinpoint? It's not as fast. That has yet to be seen. The quad setup on the rear boasts a 64 megapixel main camera. Next up is a 16 megapixel ultra wide camera. So a main shooter, an ultra wide. This is followed by a 5 megapixel low light camera, quote, low light camera, which is unique to the Pro. I wonder how well that works. The main camera can record 4K video at 30 frames per second. The phone's powered by a Snapdragon 675 chipset, like we've talked about, 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. Plus, it has a micro SD card for up to 256 gigs more. and it has a 4500 milliamp hour battery that supports 18-watt quick charge. So those are pretty good specs for a $450 phone. Again, I say pretty good. I can't tell you much about the Snapdragon 675, how well it works, but maybe I'll have to do some digging and see what other phones carry that Snapdragon 7 or 675 chipset. So the TCL 10 Pro will come out in Q2 of this year and will cost $450 US. It'll run Android 10 out the box. So it has TCL customizations on top, which I've said this before. I'm not the biggest fan of other skins, but stock Android. Call me a purist, but that's what I am. Other than OnePlus just tweaking it here and there, it's hard for me to deal with other software on top of Android. Not really my thing. If it's your thing, that's cool. I'm just saying it's not mine. So the TCL 10 5G goes up to a Snapdragon 765G chipset. And that's probably why it has a 765, because the 675 probably does not support 5G. Besides the 5G connectivity, this also means a faster CPU and GPU. So that's weird. Is the TCL 10 5G their mid-range model? So this has a faster CPU and GPU, but it's not their Pro model. This is very confusing for me now. It also has 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and a micro SD. Micro SD expandable storage, like a storage slot. I'm sorry. It also has the same 4500 milliamp hour battery and 18-watt charging. So this model borrows the 64 megapixel main sensor of the Pro, but drops down to an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera. So they're saying their ultra wide doesn't get as high resolution. Is that right? So let me see here. 64 main. So 16 megapixel ultra wide versus this one has an 8. So it doesn't, again, just because it has more megapixels doesn't mean it's better, but maybe it isn't the better sensor. Again, a lot of this has to be seen. I really don't know. It gets a 5 megapixel macro cam instead of the night cam. That's weird that they have all these different configurations, all these different models. I didn't really think that they were going to be swapping different cameras into the different models here. So a 2 megapixel depth sensor to bring the number up to 4. Another change is that there is now a fingerprint reader on the back. So these are really, really different configurations, different chipsets, different cameras, and even the fingerprint sensor. So the Pro version has an in-display. This one has a rear fingerprint sensor, but it has a better chipset and it has worse cameras is what I'm getting out of this. That is a very confusing lineup. This is because the front is different and uses a 6.53 inch LCD with a punch hole and 16 megapixel selfie camera. That's right. They're also using different displays. This panel also has 1080p plus resolution with a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio, HDR10 support too. The TCL 10 5G will cost. So this doesn't have a US price. Maybe this is something that they're not going to be releasing in the US. I don't know. The TCL 10L has the same front as the 5G, a 6.53 inch LCD with a 16 megapixel camera, selfie camera, and a punch hole. The back is pretty similar too, including the rear mounted fingerprint reader and 8 megapixel ultra wide cam. The main camera, however, gets a 48 megapixel sensor. Also, the macro camera now has only 2 megapixel resolution. So we're talking about the lower end one here too. Despite the different sensor and chipset, the phone can still record 4K video at 30 frames per second. Speaking of chipset, this model uses a Snapdragon 665 with 6 gigs of RAM. There are 2 options for the storage, 64 and 128. Okay, so again, this is their lower end model. Does have a 4,000 milliamp hour 4,000 milliamp hour 4,000 milliamp hour battery, no fast charging. And then this is the one that's going out for $250. All three have this SDR to HDR tone mapping. They also have 3.5mm headphone jacks, which is great, and something TCL calls, quote, super Bluetooth, the ability to connect to 4 wireless speakers simultaneously. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at these comments here. The 5G one is far better than a Nokia 8.3 5G in terms of design. So yeah, the design looks pretty good. I'm really feeling that green one there. This comment also really is kind of hitting home for me right now. They ruined the 10 Pro with that 675 chipset. Again, I don't know much about that chipset, if it's worthy of that price or not. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how these come out, if their price is worth it, and if it's worth your $300, $400, $500. So let's see here. Brian says, I just don't understand why they don't give us a front and rear sensor. Give us the choice. That's the whole point of Android. Yeah, I don't know. Especially with, what gets me too are these big companies who are packing phones with so much stuff in it. Like, why don't you just pack it with the proper fingerprint sensors then? Give us the option of what we want to use to lock in our phones, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Okay, so I do want to pivot here. Where did my article go for that? I had the article for, I really wanted to talk about, I'm going to go find it real quick, guys. So I really wanted to talk about this article that got released. I think it got released on Friday. And so it's not a new, like a super new article here, but I wanted to talk about somebody who did a review of the Google Pixel 4. And specifically the Google Pixel 4 XL. So let's kind of get into this real quick, because I haven't read it yet, and I wanted to see what they thought about it. So this article here from Andrew from Android Central, titled, so this is a long-term review, Google Pixel 4 XL review, 6 months on, a love-hate relationship. Google's strengths and weaknesses remain after several months. That might say it all in the title, but I really want to dig down and see what they say, how they feel about it, and how they feel 6 months later. Because even though I've had my Pixel 4 since its release, I haven't used it daily. I have been using it now for almost this entire week, or past couple days at least, for sure. And it's been going okay. Yeah, the battery isn't the best, and I also don't think the display is really, the display is hard for me to use when I'm outside and I'm going for a walk and I pull my phone out. It just doesn't seem as bright as I want it to be. But I wonder how these guys feel. So these guys have the 4XL, or Andrew does, and I just want to see how he feels about it. It's been nearly 6 months since I got my Google Pixel 4XL and reviewed it. Time flies. There are new high-end phones on the market. Several software updates have tweaked and added new features, and speculation about the Pixel 4a and even the Pixel 5 is well underway. But I haven't forgotten about the Pixel 4 XL in light of the shiny new phones and speculation about replacements. I've still been using it. In fact. So how has the Pixel 4 XL held up to 6 months of use? Here are my experiences. So here's at a glance little subsection here. Bottom line, 6 months on, Google's strengths remain. Its simple hardware is still appreciated and has held up to use. The software is still useful and performs well. With a couple of big feature updates, it keeps improving, and Face Unlock support has expanded. I'm in between on how I feel about Face Unlock. I don't think it's as good as Face ID, and this is coming from someone that uses these two phones exclusively. The iPhone 11 Pro is something I've been using daily since I've gotten it. if I know that my Pixel 4 has been my main, the one I've been carrying a lot with me, but the iPhone 11 Pro doesn't leave my side. It's always in my other pocket, if not being used as my main. The camera is still the best around. I disagree with that. Even without an ultra wide lens, I completely disagree with that. The iPhone 11 Pro, I feel, is the better camera in terms of photo quality. Well, I guess, and video quality, especially night shots. iPhone 11 Pro, I feel, is the better phone there. Again, that's why these articles come out, because we all have our own different personal uses for them. I do pretty thorough photo comparison tests. So if you guys haven't seen that, please feel free to check that out on my channel. I do go pretty in depth when I have tested the Pixel 4 with my iPhone 11 Pro. And in almost all cases, the iPhone 11 Pro is the better camera to use. And then again, I'm wondering, maybe they say it's the best because this is Android Central and they don't do iPhone stuff. Do they? I don't know. I pulled this article and I thought it was interesting. So I just realized that as I was reading through this. But battery life is unfortunately just downright bad, and the specs and screen quality aren't, well, so he goes about screen quality too, aren't befitting its price in 2020. So the Pro is still the best camera quality. I disagree. Face unlock support has improved, so it's improved, but I still don't think it's as good as the iPhone 11 Pro. Simple hardware has been durable, sure. Well, I guess we'll dig down and read into that. Software updates add to the experience. Performance remains good. So that's the one thing I can say is the performance has been rock solid for me. No issues when it comes to performance. Battery life is still terrible. Screen is a bit dim. So this is my complaint that I've been having so far. Screen oleophobic coating wore quickly. I'll read into that because I don't really know exactly what he means by like how he's noticed it over time. And then the specs are low for the money, which I also agree, which I've been saying since almost day one. So Google Pixel 4 XL, what I still love. After spending a good bit of time away from the Pixel 4 XL to review the Galaxy S20 Ultra and then LG V60 back to back, it actually felt nice to be able to come back to the Pixel. There's just something about this hardware that speaks to me. Compared to those two phones, it somehow feels small and lightweight, and its simple soft-coated metal and glass, since I have the white one, still looks and feels unique in a world of super glossy phones. Yes, the overall design is boring, but it's at least boring in a different way than the other phones out there. I've been using it without my usual Google Fabric case, even though it's on the slippery side. So I have some thoughts on that. I think the design is fine. I don't know. Calling a phone boring is kind of subjective. Most of these phones look exactly the same. I mean, I think they're all boring in their own way. I think the only big real differentiator is how much front screen do you have? How little bezels do you have? That is what differentiates it now. And then what colors are you giving it? Yeah, there's different ways to look at it, right? The material they use. What's that new phone that came out that has like the ceramic back? My Essential had a ceramic back, and it was nice and it felt great. But yeah, at the end of the day, unless you're me, you're not carrying it naked. I mean, I do, but most people slap a case on it, and then it's like every other phone that's out there. But okay, so I led with the hardware because it's top of mind after switching back to the phone. But how can I go any further without talking about the Pixel 4 XL's cameras? The camera experience is still great, and the biggest thing I've come to appreciate is just how consistently great it is. And that's one of the reasons that I carry my Pixel 4. It's one of the reasons that I carry my iPhone 11 Pro with me all the time, because it's very consistent. I never fiddle with the interface or need to tweak things. I'm the same way. I'm more of a point and shoot guy. Yes, I do. If you see here, I have cameras and I do photography, and I use manual controls when I shoot with my DSLR. I would never shoot any other way. I would never shoot in auto with my DSLR. But when it comes to a camera phone, point and shoot. That's how I feel. Um, Not that you shouldn't use manual controls. There's always a benefit to it. I don't know. For me, when I take my camera out, I just want to point and shoot. That's how I do it. Um, when he says the same thing here, I just point and shoot and get an awesome photo. Spend a little time with composition, tap to focus, and the highlights, shadow sliders, and you can take things to another level. Which is something I'll do from time to time. Tap to focus, I do almost always, unless I'm just taking an overall composition shot or landscape shot, whatever, right? If I'm taking a city shot and there's no real focus there, then I don't worry about it. I will sometimes mess with the highlight shadow sliders, but not often. So the Pixel 4 XL's camera isn't quirky or weird, and the only trick you need to learn is that night sight takes exceptional photos, both at night and during the day. Again, I don't agree with this. I don't think night sight or night shots or low light shots for the Pixel 4. Um, I mean, are they good? Yeah. Are they great? Yeah, for most people. But when you compare it to an iPhone 11 Pro, I'm sorry that they're not. Again, if you disagree with me, you can watch my videos. I mean, I should make another video just to back up my claims here. If how many videos have I put out with the Pixel 4 and the iPhone 11 Pro and compare their cameras? In I think in almost every video other than my portrait. So and that's the only thing I give the Pixel 4 credit for is the portrait shots are better than the iPhone 11 Pro. But for most of my videos, the iPhone 11 Pro has been the better camera phone. It really has. So it says you're far less likely to get an eye-popping, oversaturated photo out of the Pixel 4 XL, but that's exactly why I like it. I appreciate the balanced colors and excellent fundamentals of Pixel photos. I still lament the lack of an ultra-wide camera, and yes, its zoom beyond 3 times is easily beaten by the Galaxy S20 series, but the shot-to-shot consistency and low-light quality easily outweigh those shortcomings. So is it weird that I'm looking at this photo and I don't think it's great? Why does this look really? Oh, it's you know what? It's probably because I'm zoomed in for you guys. So, but it's not even it. I mean, it doesn't seem like it has. I mean, I'm not shitting on it. I don't think the picture is that great. Um, this is not oversaturated, bro. This is oversaturated. This is no. That's a nice shot. But and this is also oversaturated here or over sharpened is my thing. It's over sharpened. Here's the way I feel about these shots too is almost every camera phone today will take pretty good shots in daytime. I don't think these pictures are anything exceptional. I'm sure you guys are looking at this and you're like, I've shot in pictures like this too. Unless it comes to stuff like this, right? So yeah, is this night shot great? It is. Again, if I were to put this though versus a um an iPhone 11 Pro, I can guarantee you that you're gonna find differences there, and I can almost guarantee you that the iPhone is gonna come out the better shot, especially at night. Oh, these are nice composition ones. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm not I'm not trying to shit on the photography. I'm just saying it's not. I can take a $200 $300 cheaper phone, and I'm sure they're still gonna come out with great shots. To the point where if I post them on Instagram, people aren't going to be like, that was the Google Pixel 4 because it's so good that like it's worlds above. I don't see that. So the front facing camera is also still superb, not necessarily for its shot to shot quality in good lighting, which is great, but for how well it handles low light and challenging scenarios, you just get great selfies out of this camera in so many more situations than the competition. Google rightly took some flack for dropping the dual camera system of the Pixel 3, but this is still the best selfie shooter out there. I haven't shot enough selfies to tell you if the Google Pixel 3 is the best selfie shooter. Google software experience also deserves praise. Sorry, I should put this back larger. Um, for holding up well over time. My Pixel 4 XL still running fast and smooth as it did months ago, which isn't always the case even with modern phones. It's still easy to feel like Google cheaped out with only 6 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. That's hard to argue, or that's hard. Yeah, that is hard to argue. I don't care so much about the 6 gigs of RAM as for the 64 gigs of storage. They could have upped Apple's game there because Apple still charges $1,000 for 64 gigs on the iPhone 11 Pro, and they could have made that $800 more worthwhile by at least giving us 120 gigs of storage. But at least as far as performance goes, its specs haven't been an issue. Google's quarterly feature drop software updates have added nice tweaks and improvements as well, adding some ongoing value to owning a Google phone. I was pretty negative on Face Unlock at first because of its extremely limited compatibility, but at this point, every one of my apps that used to use fingerprint authentication now supports it. I was going to say no. I know there are many apps out there that still don't or only support it in a beta release. When I try to log into Chase or Capital One, I still have to yeah, I can't use facial recognition for it. And those are big things I use. They're things I use consistently to just make sure everything's on the up and up. But things have improved dramatically since launch, and it changed my overall opinion on Face Unlock. Now the app authentication is as fast and seamless as my lock screen, which is fantastic. When implemented properly, I like it more than a fingerprint sensor. I just it's hard for me. I mean, again, everyone has their own opinion on how these things work, but I just having my Pixel 4 with my iPhone 11 Pro side by side, I just don't think it holds up as well. I really don't. I'm going to bring an optimistic take on motion sense as well. I'd love to see this optimistic take, which I don't expect to be doing at this point. With the last feature-filled software update, Google added the ability to pause and play media with an open palm tap down toward the screen, and it actually works. It's a much more subtle gesture than the left-right wave to skip tracks, and a much more useful one for me. I'm far more likely to want to just stop or start my music or podcast than actively switch between tracks. Motion Sense still stands as a feature and technology that fell way short of its promise, and nobody should buy the Pixel 4 XL citing it as a must-have feature, but it does work for a very specific set of things, and it's neat to have. Fair enough. If you can find a use for it, that's great. I don't really see myself using motion sense because I just don't think it's a must have. I don't find it useful. When I listen to tracks, I'm listening to tracks when I am out doing cardio or if I'm lifting or whatever, right? It's usually when I'm at the gym, or if I'm on public transit, which I haven't been in a while because of this whole quarantine thing. So yeah, again, it's not for me. So here, what hasn't aged well. The biggest downside of the Pixel 4 XL remains the same as 6 months ago. Battery life is terrible, and I'm even less tolerant of it now. If everything goes according to plan and I just have a usual basic day of use, I'll go to bed with 15 to 20% remaining. But if I ever stray from that normal use, the battery just falls off a cliff. That's actually a really good point that he brings up here, because I've been using my Pixel 4 now for the last couple of days, and I've been able to use it fine. I can get through a whole day, and I'll get about 4 to 4.5, and sometimes 5 hours of battery with screen on time. 4 to 5 hours of screen on time, and that's with my normal use. But my normal is not my normal right now because I'm in quarantine. I'm using Wi-Fi at home 90 95% of the time, other than the hour that I'm out, going for a walk or something, right? Otherwise, I'm always on Wi-Fi. So that is not my typical use case scenario. And, once this lifts, that's going to be different. It really will. So the Pixel 4 XL's battery, what I was trying to say is that for him, right? If he ever strays away from that normal use, then things are going to be different. And how many of us have different days. I mean, yeah, we might have a similar routine every day, but I'll give you a perfect example. Last night I fell asleep and I forgot to charge my Pixel 4. This morning I woke up and I went for a walk, and I used my Pixel 4, but it had 14% battery on it. And then sometimes when I go for a walk, I still like to pull my phone out and just check stuff, and I couldn't do it because I was getting battery anxiety. I couldn't use it because I didn't want my AirPods to stop working because I wanted to use um I wanted to make sure my Pixel 4 would last my workout. And again, there goes that case of um worrying about the battery. And I can tell you that 9 times out of 10, if I fell asleep and I didn't charge my iPhone 11 Pro, it'll get me through the next day, at least for that 1 hour workout in the morning. Um I don't know how else to put it. The battery life is not the best. Don't expect much from it unless you know you're going to be charging up every day or every night. So the Pixel 4 XL's battery just doesn't have any wiggle room, and that means I never have confidence in it. It leads me to worry charge early in the day if I know I have a late dinner or an event to go to in the evening. Again, we're in a very regular pattern here with our day. So, or at least most of us are because of this quarantine. Again, Friday night if I want to go out, or if whatever. There's always a time when you might need the battery more than you thought you would, and having that is better than not having it at all. Having battery life is what I'm saying. Um, so these aren't things I need to worry about on any other phone I've used in the past few years, outside of the Pixel 3 and 2, of course. And we know it isn't just about the capacity of the battery, though at 3,700 milliamp hours, it isn't particularly large. The OnePlus 7T does dramatically better with 3,800 milliamp hours. The Galaxy S20 does notably better with 4,000 milliamp hours, and there are plenty of other examples. Google simply doesn't make the best use of the battery it has at its disposal, and it's a huge negative mark on this phone. Um, Elsewhere in the experience, I have two distinct issues with the Pixel 4 XL's battery or display. For the most part, it's actually good. Colors, viewing angles, and that sweet 90 hertz refresh rate are all just fine, but the screen's brightness really isn't up to speed. I completely agree, especially now that I've been using it every day and taking it with me when I go for a walk. Today was really sunny, and it was very obvious, evident that the display just wasn't up to par for me. I regularly have trouble seeing the screen outside without shading it, even with the brightness maxed out. And the automatic brightness always seems to be a bit too low, even indoors. I haven't really noticed that issue indoors. I don't mess with my automatic brightness because I just want to see how Google, um, you know, gives me the display, how it handles it at its automatic settings. Again, it's been fine for the most part. I can still take it outside and I don't up the brightness, but I notice right away when I'm looking at it, I'm like, this looks dark. It's dark. I should turn up the brightness, but I don't because I'm just hoping that Google will, turn up the brightness for me, and it usually doesn't. My other screen issue is the oleophobic coating on the screen, the layer on top of the screen that keeps it from getting covered in oil and fingerprints. I raised this issue at the end of November, and it's gotten worse. I see what he's saying. Yeah, you know what? My my Pixel 4 actually seems like it has scratches and stuff on it. And it does look a little more fingerprinty than what my iPhone 11 Pro uh, looks like, but I mean, I guess I haven't really thought of it that much. It's the absolute worst phone I have in terms of picking up fingerprints and gunk. It always looks and feels gross. That's actually a good way of pointing of bringing that up, because sometimes when I look at my screen on the Pixel 4, it just looks a little off, and it might be that. I really don't understand how Google keeps having this problem when every other phone handles it. Yeah, I don't either. With I'm looking at the score right here. With 6 months in the review mirror, the Pixel 4 XL stands roughly where it did before. I still appreciate Google's hardware, and its software has stayed fast and smooth while picking up new features through regular updates. Its cameras are still excellent and remain one of the biggest reasons to buy this phone. But the sad reality for the Pixel 4 XL is that it's simply gotten older. with the same notable weak points as before, while there's new competition out there that's fresh and improved. Battery life is still really bad, and its specs and display are subpar compared to what you can get at this point in 2020. At its full retail price of $900, the Pixel 4 XL is a bit of a tough sell now that it's 6 months old. Yeah, I would never recommend anyone to get the Pixel 4 or the Pixel 4 XL at $800 or $900. No. I would have recommended it when it had that Costco sale for the Pixel 4 for $299. That's a great deal for it. $300 is a great deal for the Pixel 4. But I don't think those prices are going to change because I think that 4A is coming and they got to make sure that they separate the two. At that price, you're just $100 from a Galaxy S20 or the same price at times, and surely more expensive than the forthcoming OnePlus 8. But I've regularly seen the Pixel 4 XL dip down to $800 or even $700 on sale, and that feels like an appropriate price for this phone at this point. I still think that's too much. When you're actually saving real money over a 2020 flagship, you can potentially look past the Pixel 4 XL shortcomings and bask in the glory of its camera and software experience. Andrew has a good amount of things on point here. There are some things that I do disagree with as far as the camera being the best. I still don't think Face Unlock is that great. Motion Sense, I mean, I guess I'm indifferent on that. If you can find an actual good use for it, that's great. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I really want to make another video talking about the Pixel 4 and how it's changed since I've been using it daily, but I'm coming to very similar conclusions. So let me see here. Brian says, yeah, Pixel battery life is terrible compared to the other OEMs, which is sad. I just wish that it wasn't. Okay, so we're about to get into an hour here, but I do have a couple more articles. I might not read them all, but I saw this other article, which is also from Android Central, called "Why the Regular OnePlus 8 Will Be the OnePlus Phone to Get This Year." The 8 Pro looks impressive, but is it a true OnePlus phone? Interesting. It's that time of year again. A new OnePlus phone is just on the horizon. I feel some level of excitement for just about every Android phone that's announced, regardless of who makes it. I wish I felt that way. I don't feel that way anymore. But there's always an extra level of giddiness I feel when it comes to when it comes time for OnePlus to take the stage. As you probably know by now, we're getting ready for the company to unveil the OnePlus 8, OnePlus 8 Pro, and possibly even a third device in the form of the OnePlus Z. The OnePlus Z being their light model, their budget phone. OnePlus followed a similar release pattern this time last year with the OnePlus 7 and OnePlus 7 Pro, except we have a reason to believe 2020 will be a bit different in the execution. Based on the current rumor mill that we've been following for months at this point, the OnePlus 8 will more or less be the true successor to the more recent OnePlus 7T. The OnePlus Z will target shoppers with especially tight budgets, and the OnePlus 8 Pro will pack in every feature and spec possible with much less regard to cost than previous OnePlus phones. In other words, it's expected to be the device where OnePlus finally holds no punches back and simply makes the most premium Android phone it can. Agreed. I'm just really worried about the price of these phones. In theory, I should be genuinely excited about this. One of the things I've been harping on OnePlus for years is to add Qi wireless charging. And according to the latest rumors, the OnePlus 8 Pro will come equipped with 30-watt wireless charging with 3-watt reverse wireless charging. It's also rumored to be the first OnePlus phone with an IP68 rating for dust water resistance, offer a 120 Hz AMOLED display up from a 90 Hz one, and looks to finally come with a legitimately competitive camera system. Again, that has yet to be seen. If there's one thing that I've been wanting from OnePlus for a while, it's to give me not so much the day shots, right? More so low light shooting, indoor shooting, night photography, and to an extent portrait shots too. Day shots are fine. They're great. Use Gcam with it. It's even better. All of that's great, except when we step back to think about what a phone like this will cost. The OnePlus 7 Pro debuted with a steep 669 starting price, and that's a phone that had a 90 hertz display, no wireless charging, and no IP rating. With this year's OnePlus 8 Pro upgrading all of those things and more, paired with OnePlus's willingness to already jack up the price year after year, again, which is um, very disappointing to say the least. It stands to be the company's most expensive mainline phone by a large margin. So, OnePlus CEO Pete Lau recently confirmed that the highest end entry in the OnePlus 8 will cost less than $1,000. But again, we don't know what that price is going to be. I'm guessing $899. That is good news, but it also means that we should brace for the phone to cost at least $800 and possibly as high as $900. I think 800 is being generous. I think it's going to be more than that. If it is 800, that's probably going to be a good deal. Great deal, maybe, at least compared to what you can get to today's smartphones, right? Yeah, I'm assuming so. Again, I wouldn't pay 800 for it. I still think it's a lot of money, but that'll be good for end of the year when they're pricing stuff down again to, $699, $599, $499. One of the reasons OnePlus phones have stood out is their ability to offer flagship-like experiences at considerably lower prices than the competition. Let's not forget, when the OnePlus 3 came out, that was $379. I mean, we're talking double the price now for some of these phones. But once you get to $800 or above, you've gone from a value flagship to a full-on flagship. Agreed. If you're a longtime OnePlus fan, that's probably not something you want to hear. Thankfully, the all-out OnePlus 8 Pro isn't the only phone we'll have to choose from this year. The OnePlus 8 looks to keep the ideals and values OnePlus has become known for, offering expensive specs at a hopefully decent price. With the OnePlus 8 Pro at the high end, and the OnePlus Z taking a new budget position, I'd expect we see the OnePlus 8 target a price around $600. $600 for a OnePlus 8 that has a Snapdragon 800 series. What is it going to have? 8 gigs of RAM? So let's think about that. OnePlus 8, Snapdragon 800 series, 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of internal storage, better cameras. I don't know if it's going to have wireless charging, if it's going to have, it's not going to be IP68. $600. That's not awful. I would still like to pay a little less, but that's not awful. At that price, the OnePlus 8 stands to be an incredible value. Assuming the reported specs are accurate, you're getting the Snapdragon 865, at least 8 gigs of RAM, a 90 hertz AMOLED display, 4,300 milliamp hour battery, and still impressive warp charge, 30T wired charging. None of that is particularly revolutionary for OnePlus the way the OnePlus 8 Pro will be. But if all you care about is being able to get a speedy and reliable phone at the best price possible, the OnePlus 8 should still serve that need just fine. At $600, I think that's a pretty good deal. It really is. My limit is 500 there, but it wouldn't be long to see the OnePlus 8 drop to $500. I think I would buy that. I wonder how these cameras are going to turn out, though. So it's exciting that we've almost reached the point where OnePlus will have a phone to directly compete with the newest Galaxy from Samsung. And while the OnePlus 8 Pro is the device the company needs to do that, the cheaper OnePlus 8 is likely what its dedicated fan base will be more drawn to. It may not be as flashy, but all things considered, it could stand to be the better purchase between the two. Why is Samsung the bar here? Right? I don't think the Galaxy S20 has really reached any incredible marks, has it? Is that the phone to beat? A phone that has kind of not the best software experience? I mean, that's the one thing OnePlus has going for it is the software experience with already great hardware. Maybe they're talking about all these higher end specs like wireless charging and IP68 certification. But again, me personally, for me, I don't need wireless charging. I don't need IP68 certification. Give me a better camera. Give me a better camera, OnePlus. I'll take that. Um, and then when that $600 drops down to $500, fuck yeah, I'll buy one. Um, if that camera is competitive with an S20, if the camera is competitive with a Pixel 4, um, I don't know if we're going to get there. I don't know who's working on OnePlus's camera or who's working in OnePlus's camera department. It's almost there. OnePlus is almost there. I think it's just missing the mark there. Also, don't jack up your prices, because once you do, then you should be like everyone else, just kind of like this points out. But $600, I guess $600 is still a lot of money, but when you compare those specs to what other phones have right now, it might be a good deal. But then it also makes me think about these other value phones that have Snapdragon 800 series chipsets in them that are coming from China, I believe. And I think it's coming at even lower prices. So again, I don't know how good their cameras are, but that's something to take a look at. So I don't know. Will with the thumbs up. What's up, Will? What's going on, man? How you doing? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. I'm just about done here though, so I'm sorry about that. So actually, let me move on to Galaxy since we're talking about it. So there's this article from Android Police that says you can get a dual SIM Galaxy S20 for $700. Which is funny because we're just talking about the OnePlus 8 that might be coming out for $600, and then you can get a Galaxy S20 right now for $700. But this is for $300 less than the US model. There's an update, so I don't know what I'm missing here. So the sellers has dropped the price on its dual SIM Galaxy S20 stock even further. The Galaxy S20 series is quite expensive, with even the lowest end model costing $1,000 in the US. If you're not picky about cellular reception, the dual SIM S20 Plus is just $800 on eBay, and now the dual SIM S20 is down to $749. So I'm guessing it's $700 now. Let me actually, can I pull this up? No, I thought there was going to be a link to it, or is this the link? God damn it. At least give me the link. So this model is a dual SIM version intended for international markets. That means it has an Exynos 990 processor instead of a Snapdragon 865. Well, that kind of sucks because actually I just have this article that says Samsung Exynos subpar compared to Snapdragon system on chip. So maybe that's why it's cheaper. This already makes me feel like it's not worth it, because if it's going to be a inferior chipset, then I don't know. But it is compatible with 5G networks in the US. It's also missing a handful of frequencies commonly used by US networks, and it won't work at all on Verizon, Sprint, and other CDMA based carriers. So T-Mobile, I mean, at least it would qualify for me, but I didn't know that it was using the Exynos chip and not the Snapdragon. So fuck it. Don't worry about it. It's also why I had this article here. I was going to go through it, but my hour's coming up, and I have a lot to do today, guys. So I'm probably going to use this as the last thing to go over. I don't know exactly what's up with this, how subpar it is or why it is. But let me see here if there's just a quick answer to that. The South Korean versions always run on Qualcomm Snapdragon, while the global models are powered by Exynos, except for those sold in China and the US. Samsung is said to be humiliated over this decision because Exynos 990 is its very own. Oftentimes, the Qualcomm Snapdragon yields better reviews and results in most markets. The Exynos variant costs the same as the Qualcomm Snapdragon version, but the latter really is more powerful. Now we've been hearing Samsung fans are no longer happy because they've been paying for the same product but with different performance. It can be frustrating because there is clearly a gap. A petition is now on change.org calling on the South Korean tech company to discontinue its use of the Exynos processor in flagship smartphones. At the moment, signatures have reached more than 33,000. Okay, but that's it. let's see here. Samsung only has this to say for now. The Galaxy S20 is a smartphone that's been reimagined to change the way you experience the world. And depending on the region, the Galaxy S20 will either ship with the Exynos 990 or the Snapdragon 865. Both the Exynos and Snapdragon processors go through the same strict and rigorous real life testing scenarios in order to deliver consistent and optimal performance over the entire life cycle of the smartphone. Horseshit. Just a bunch of like calm the people down jargon. There's no real talk about it. It's just, yeah, we use Exynos for other markets. That's not US, that's not China. That's all they're saying. Same shit. There's no real answer to that. Anyway, that should be it, guys. My hour's up here. Kind of going a little longer, but this is usually what I take. Again, for everybody who stopped by, for everyone who's joined in the chat, I do want to thank everybody. Again, if you guys haven't already, please feel free to like the video. I forgot to mention that earlier. It helps me in the algorithm somehow, somewhere, some way. But I do appreciate it for everyone who's come in, who's joined in the chat, who supported me. Hope you found this entertaining, interesting. Hope it's taken some time out to get your mind off of everything that's going on right now. Brian with the dollar super chat saying whatever device you are getting funded. Yeah, I don't know yet. I really don't know yet. Brian, again, thank you so much for that super chat. It does mean a lot to me. I hope you don't get sick of me saying the same thing, but I do mean it, man. Again, it's really appreciated. And for everybody who's come in, also appreciated. So thank you so much. Again, I host TNT Joe-Fi dailies, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern. TNT Joe-Fi is tech news that Jerome Ortega finds interesting. Try to give you stuff that you might not find on other channels, give you a different perspective. And I think that's what a lot of this is about. So from me to you guys, stay safe and stay healthy. All the good things that's important, especially during this time. Just do what you can to take care of each other. So with that said, I'm leaving it there. I will see you guys tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central. I think that's it, right? I don't think I have anything else left to say. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Take care.